Now let's have a listen to Treasurer Jim Chalmers, who says he remains optimistic that Australia can avoid a recession, despite the world facing another global economic downturn. Here he is.
The world is bracing for another global downturn. That's the truth of it. The prospects for a recession in some of the major economies of the world has edged over from possible to probable, and that has obvious implications for us. This one is an inflation shock, and the risk here is a hard landing around the world brought about by the blunt and brutal, but in some ways necessary, tightening of monetary policy.
James Macpherson, do we believe him?
Well, the concern is that it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If he keeps talking down the economy, he'll talk us into recession. So that's the thing I think they've got to watch out for the most.
Alexandra?
He quoted one of the biggest problems for our coming recession that he doesn't want to have being energy prices. And there is a huge neon flashing sign above his head that says nuclear energy that we could have already had, which would solve most of these problems. But basically, he's overthinking it. Instead of giving everybody lower taxes and less red tape to fix the economy, he wants to tax us more and make it more difficult to earn a living.
James Allen, what are you expecting in this budget? When's the last time you saw or heard a federal budget that had any element in it that you approved of?
Well, I mean, we could sort of go back to the first Abbott budget, but even that was pretty Mickey Mouse. You know, they were going to charge $3 to go see a doctor or something, and people complained about that, even though in New Zealand you pay a lot more. There hasn't been a good, solid, sort of careful budget since the Howard years, to be honest. That was probably the last time we had a real surplus. The real problem for the coalition is they can't really criticize Labor. They were the biggest spending, biggest taxing government, at least since the Second World War, maybe ever. And it was, you know, it was their pathetic response to COVID. It wasn't COVID, it was the response to COVID. And that has created massive asset inflation that's hurt the young and hurt the poor. It's a cost of COVID problem we have right now. Add in the fact that Europe's looking at 3 hours of blackouts a day. Of course there's going to be a recession. If you're turning off the lights for 3 hours a day, there's a recession. So it is a big problem. I don't even buy, you know, like I'm the black sheep in my family. I'm the lawyer. All my rest of my family, my sister, my dad, my uncle, they're all economists. I don't even buy the uber Keynesian view of the world we've got coming out of Treasury and the Reserve Bank, that we measure gross domestic product. They inflate that by bringing in so many immigrants every year. And so GDP per person is going down in Australia or staying the same. Our GDP might be going up, but it's a Ponzi scheme of massive numbers coming in per capita. So I think Australia's economic fundamentals aren't nearly as good as Labor's pretending. So I'm not optimistic on the next year.